All right, so get ready because today we are going to take a deep dive into the fascinating life of Barry Humphries.
The man behind Dame Edna.
You got it, the man behind the makeup.
Yes.
So we've got some excerpts here from a recent article in The Independent,
Oh, interesting.
and it really paints such a fascinating picture of Humphries
Yes.
off stage just as much as he was on.
Yeah. The world knew him for this larger-than-life persona, but at home he was surrounded by thousands of books and artworks.
Thousands.
Thousands!
I mean, was his house just bursting at the seams?
Sounds like it.
The article talks about bookshelves just overflowing, stacks on tables, boxes crammed with
Oh, yeah.
literary treasures.
Yeah, it was a real obsession, his passion for collecting.
Wow. And what's interesting is that he had this particular fondness for literature from the 1890s.
Yeah.
As a Humphries fan, I've always known he was a bit of a bookworm.
Sure.
But the extent of his collection is just mind-blowing.
It is.
What do you think that this very specific choice of era says about him?
That's such a good question.
Yeah.
Well, the 1890s were a time of great artistic and cultural upheaval, really.
Mm-hmm.
Movements like aestheticism and decadence were challenging the Victorian norms.
Right.
And maybe Humphries was drawn to that era's emphasis on beauty and wit.
Oh, yeah.
And a certain, flamboyant individualism.
I mean, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Like, those themes resonate with his own stage persona, even if Dame Edna is kind of a satirical take on those qualities.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. And speaking of satire, we can't forget Humphries' love for Oscar Wilde.
Of course.
He owned a first edition of The Importance of Being Earnest,
You're kidding?
personally inscribed by the author.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's a real treasure.
Yeah.
I could just picture him like at a dinner party,
Oh, yeah.
pulling that book off the shelf
Oh, absolutely.
and regaling his guests with stories about Oscar Wilde.
Oh, he apparently loved to do just that.
Yeah, but he did.
He was a member of that really ultra-exclusive Roxburgh Club,
Oh, I've heard of that.
a society of bibliophiles
Yeah.
with distinguished libraries.
I've heard they're notoriously secretive.
They are.
I bet he'd fit right in
Oh, absolutely.
by that personality.
Yeah, just picture him arriving at one of their gatherings
Oh, I know.
at Chatsworth House
I love that place.
in a velvet jacket and a monkey mask.
Wait, a monkey mask.
Yeah,
Now that's an image.
that's very Humphries.
That's very Humphries, very him, the sophistication,
Yeah.
eccentricity all rolled into one.
Yeah, and speaking of eccentricities,
Yes.
his art collection.
Oh, right, he didn't stop at books.
No, he didn't.
I forgot about that.
His tastes ranged from the pre-Raphaelites to Australian painters like Charles Contonder,
Condor.
whose work often captures that bohemian spirit.
Oh, that's interesting because Edward Burne-Jones, one of the artists he collected, was a key figure in that pre-Raphaelite movement.
Right.
So there's this connection, right, between his literary interests and his art.
Absolutely.
Like they're both rebelling against the status quo in their own way.
I think so.
And we cannot forget the nudes.
Oh, the noobs, yes.
Rows and rows of them.
From the 1870s through the 1930s.
That playful side of him definitely comes through in his art.
Absolutely.
But all this collecting,
yeah,
the sheer volume of it all,
it is a lot.
makes you wonder, where did this passion begin?
Well, the article kind of suggests it might stem from a childhood incident.
Oh,
Pretty traumatic.
okay.
Apparently, Humphrey's mother gave away all his books to the Salvation Army.
All of them.
All of them.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, what a motivator to rebuild a library, though.
Yeah, that is a powerful motivator.
Yeah,
But I wonder, do you think it goes deeper than that?
maybe.
Was he trying to reclaim something that he had lost?
It's possible.
Create a world that was truly his own.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
I don't think it was just about the acquiring. Right. It was about building an identity,
Wow.
and each item was carefully chosen.
Yeah.
It tells a story.
So less about Dame Edna's glitz and glamour,
Right.
more about, the scholar, the aesthete,
Yeah.
the deeply intellectual side of Barry Humphries.
Exactly. A side most people didn't get to see, but it's so beautifully revealed through this collection.
And with the upcoming auction at Christie's,
Oh, that's right.
parts of this hidden world are going to become public,
They are, yeah.
which is so exciting.
Yeah.
I've heard about this auction. Some incredibly rare items are going up for sale.
I know. I can't wait.
I'm particularly excited about that first edition of The Importance of Being Earnest.
Oh, yeah. It's expected to fetch quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah, somewhere between 100,000 and 150,000 pounds.
Wow. For a true collector, though,
Oh, I know.
a piece of literary history like that is practically priceless.
You can't put a price on that.
I can only imagine. We'll have to dive into some of the other highlights of the auction a little later. But first, I want to go back to this idea of a hidden Humphries. It makes you wonder how common this kind of duality really is.
Doesn't it?
Do you think a lot of us lead these multifaceted lives,
I think so.
cultivating passions and interests that the world might never see?
Absolutely. Think about the people that we encounter every day.
Right. Everyone has a story.
They have stories, they have histories, they have passions
Yeah.
that go so far beyond those brief interactions.
I mean, who knows? Maybe that barista who makes our coffee is a Shakespearean scholar in their free time.
Exactly.
Or our quiet neighbor that we wave to every day
Yeah.
is secretly writing a symphony.
They could be an amateur astronomer or an avid stamp collector, a closet poet.
Yeah.
I mean, Humphrey's story is a powerful reminder that there's often more to people than meets the eye.
More than meets the eye, it's a reminder to be curious, to look for those hidden dimensions
I agree.
in the people around us. And I think that is the perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive,
Okay,
where we take a closer look at the auction
I'm ready.
and what it reveals about Humphrey's personality.
Let's do it. It's like we've uncovered this secret room in this grand mansion filled with all these treasures
I love that.
that tell a story.
I know, and speaking of treasures, I'm dying to hear more about some of the highlights of this auction at Christie's.
Okay, well, aside from that first edition, Importance of Being Earnest,
Right.
there are some real gems in this collection.
Okay.
A lot of folks might be surprised to know that his tastes extended beyond books and art.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, what else did he collect?
Get ready for this. Dame Edna's iconic spectacles are going up for sale.
No way, those glasses.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what those would go for.
I know, probably not as much as that wild inscription,
Right.
but think of the cultural value.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine owning a piece of Dame Edna's legacy.
It'd be like owning a piece of comedy history.
I know.
What a conversation starter.
Exactly, and there's more.
Oh, there's more.
Remember those Raymond Chandler-esque greatcoats you mentioned earlier?
Oh, yeah.
Apparently Humphreys had a collection of those too.
Okay, it's all starting to come together now.
It is.
The art, the literature, the fashion.
It all feeds into this carefully constructed persona, this world he built for himself.
Both on and off stage.
Exactly. That's what makes this auction so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just about acquiring these objects, it's about gaining a deeper understanding of the man
Right.
behind the collection.
So it's less about the monetary value and more about the stories these items tell.
Absolutely. It's about the whispers of dinner parties, where Humphreys held court, excitedly sharing a passage from a rare book
I love that.
or an anecdote about a favorite artist.
It's like his spirit lingers within these objects.
It does, and that connection, the invisible thread that links an object to its owner,
Yeah,
the stories they share, that's what fascinates me.
I agree.
I wonder what the new owners will make of these pieces.
Yeah, will they feel that connection too?
I hope so.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thought to think about.
It is.
I like to imagine these items ending up in the hands of people who appreciate them just as much as Humphreys did.
Oh, I agree. Perhaps they'll be displayed in homes
Yeah.
that are just as filled with books and art,
Oh,
becoming a part of a new narrative,
Right.
a new chapter in their own story.
It's like Humphreys' legacy lives on through these objects,
I think so.
continuing to inspire and delight for generations to come.
Yeah, it makes me wonder what our own belongings will say about us someday.
Oh, what will they reveal about our passions,
Grace.
our quirks,
Yeah.
the things that brought us joy?
What a thought-provoking question.
It is.
It reminds me of that line from Shakespeare, all the world's a stage.
Mm,
And maybe we're all curators.
I like that.
In a way, creating our own personal narratives through the objects we choose to surround ourselves with.
So insightful.
I don't know.
We might not all have collections as grand as Humphreys,
Right,
but each item we own, from a beloved book to a quirky souvenir,
right.
contributes to the story we're telling about ourselves.
They do.
And those stories can be just as fascinating,
Yeah.
just as revealing
Absolutely.
as any grand collection.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to pose a question to you, dear listener.
Okay.
What are the objects that tell your story? What treasures, big or small,
Yeah.
would offer a glimpse into your world?
Take a moment to think about that as we move into the final part
Okay.
of our exploration into the life of Barry Humphries.
We've been on quite a journey, haven't we? Exploring this hidden world of Barry Humphries.
It's really amazing how much this deep dive has revealed, not just about Humphries, but about ourselves, too.
Isn't that interesting? It's really got me thinking about, how much we judge people based on their public image.
Right. We put them in these neat little boxes,
Yeah.
comedian, actor, writer.
Yeah.
But we don't realize the depth and the complexity that's underneath the surface.
And Humphries was so good at playing with those expectations.
Oh, he was a master.
Using Dame Edna to satirize the very society that often pigeonholes people.
And yet behind that facade, he was this quiet intellectual soul
Right.
surrounded by, first editions and pre-Raphaelite paintings.
It's like he was living a double life, existing in these two, seemingly totally different worlds.
Right.
The world of showbiz and the world of scholarship.
But were they really so disparate?
That's a good question.
Or were they two sides of the same coin?
Oh, I like that.
Two expressions of the same creative impulse.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't a double life at all.
Right.
But a multifaceted one.
Yeah, with each aspect informing and enriching the other.
I think you're right. I mean, his deep understanding of literature and art.
Oh, absolutely.
That undoubtedly influenced his comedic timing.
His sharp wit.
And his observations of human nature.
Yeah, his whole life was this performance.
It's true.
That carefully crafted work of art with every detail from his collection to his stage persona adding to the effect.
And that's what makes him such an enduring figure, I think. He transcended the boundaries of entertainment.
He challenged us to think differently.
To see the world with a more nuanced, playful perspective.
Yeah.
He reminds us that life doesn't have to fit into these neat little categories.
No, not at all.
We can be serious and silly.
Right.
Intellectual and entertaining.
Highbrow, lowbrow, all at the same time.
Exactly. And embracing those contradictions.
Yeah.
These seemingly disparate parts of ourselves.
Can lead to a richer, more fulfilling existence.
And so, as we wrap up our deep dive into the life of Barry Humphries.
Okay.
Let's carry that message with us.
Yes.
Let's celebrate the complexities,
the quirks,
the hidden depths
that make each of us unique.
Let's be open to the unexpected, to the possibility that there's always more to learn.
Always more to discover, more to appreciate.
Even in the people we think we know best.
Maybe we'll be inspired to explore our own hidden passions.
Yeah, to cultivate those neglected interests.
Embrace the multifaceted nature of our own identities.
What a wonderful thought to end on.
It is.
Thank you for joining us on this fascinating exploration of Barry Humphries, the man who taught us to laugh, to think, and to never underestimate the power of a good pair of spectacles.
Until next time, keep those minds curious.
Yes.
And remember, there's always more than meets the eye.